welcome to Kenya. You are so welcome, Judge. We love you so much, Judge, and you are welcome. Thank you, guys.
Well, hello, Dirtfish friends and Jambo Kenya. It is the event that we've all been looking forward to really since the start of the year. George, it's the event that you look forward to most in the season.
Colin, it is just a dream event. And this year they've changed a few things, they've added a couple of stages. Well, it's even better than last year, if that's possible.
Yeah, last year gave us plenty of drama, didn't it? Let's give you a little flavour of what is ahead though. George, we have 19 stages, the longest rally of the year.
It's amazing, and it's the equivalent of one day of the old Safari Rally, but I tell you what, it's all in there, the full character, the full flavour, and it's going to be tough, Colin. There's a few new challenges in there, and you were just pointing out earlier, these cars aren't tested in these conditions. You were surprised at what we've seen.
Really
I think
surprised.
It's going to be a tough one.
Really surprised, and I'll show you a little bit of that later on. I've been setting George up all week with some of these things. 19 stages, what I wanted him to say was 363 kilometres in total. That is the longest rally of the year. A really challenging 363 kilometres. But George, you touched on it at the start there. You know, the Safari of old would do that in a day. The Safari of old was very much a different beast, wasn't it? Different sorts of roads. The majority of roads this year, bar one stage, are all on estates, aren't they?
That's correct, yeah.
And what does that mean, George?
It means that the rally's very secure and very safe in general terms. This is a unique area. We're not very far away from Navasha, but we're up on the side of the little volcanic ridges up here. Not too many people, and the local people said, yeah, bring the rally past our houses.
Yeah.
Use these old roads. We've seen the rally here before many years ago. Let's see it again. So here we are, and it's a classic 13-kilometre stage, Colin, and it's going to be, I think, the most interesting of the rally.
I think you're right, George, but this is the one and only stage of the rally that runs on proper, if you like, roads that connect communities, that connect, really it's the Maasai tribes around here. It connects the villages and the schools and the hospitals. They are proper roads, so keep an eye out for that one. It's the second stage in the loop on the final day, but all of the other stages run through reserves, private places. The roads in places are manufactured, but in other places, George, the tracks that run across the typical African or Kenyan countryside are stunning. And because we're running through reserves, an awful lot of wildlife out there.
There is. It is fantastic. You might worry about the risks of hitting wildlife, but the wildlife, although it's curious, they have some road sense. They're not like Welsh sheep. They'll run away from the cars rather than towards them.
That's no slight on Welsh sheep. We do like Welsh sheep.
Not at all. It's just a fact.
But yeah, there's all sorts out there. There are giraffe, there are rhinoceros in some places. We won't see them on this event. I'm almost certain of that. But there are all sorts of wonderful animals in the reserves. Fingers crossed they all stay safe for this weekend. So it is a challenge like no other, George, and that is why we are seeing Sébastien Loeb and Sébastien Ogier returning here. It is a challenge. It is something different. And it's unpredictable this weekend in terms of the outcome. These cars have not been tested in these conditions. We heard a lot, didn't we, after Portugal, before Sardinia, about the temperatures, the extreme temperatures in Sardinia and on Safari. Sardinia was extreme, up to 42, 43 degrees. It will be 20 degrees cooler here. The temperatures aren't hot, but the conditions are tough. George, give us the latest weather forecast.
So on Friday, we're looking at a potential for a reasonable rainfall, but it's late in the day, Colin. It's at the end of the very afternoon. It's only likely to hit the last stage of the afternoon if it comes. Now, they are thunderstormy, and they could come earlier, but they could catch the last cars on that last stage.
The last stage or two, maybe if they come that little bit early. Who knows? That's interesting. Colin. Saturday and Sunday as well?
Saturday is a little bit worse than the Friday. But on the Sunday, it looks, we are finished a little bit earlier on the Sunday, and the rain that's likely to come is a little bit less. We're not talking about a lot of rain, 4 or 5 millimetres on Friday and Saturday, really, but it can be somehow a very harsh 4 or 5 millimetres. Comes very quickly. It lies on the road, does the damage. Cars will come along, be affected by it, and later cars may not be. So it could be the first cars through are great, and the next cars through get hit by it, and just a few cars later, they're clear of it again. It's bizarre, but that's Safari rain.
As long as you're within 10 minutes on the final day, you're still in with a chance of a podium. Maybe not the win,
yeah,
but
no,
a podium.
it kind of is,
that's
Colin.
for sure. Let's talk about then, George, our drivers who have a chance here. We'll start off, shall we, talking about our winners in Sardinia. Hyundai, Ott Tänak, Thierry Neuville and Oliver Solberg. Tänak will come here with renewed hope, but the realism that the problems that they went into Sardinia with haven't been resolved. The reliability issues have been their Achilles heel this year. You know, these cars won't be overstressed here. They'll be stressed because they'll be as stressed as the drivers elect to stress them.
I think you've just hit the nail absolutely on the head there, Colin. Basically, high speeds here a lot. The road is quite, generally speaking, very soft. So the transmission's not getting big hits. Where it is hard, well, you could carry the car a little bit. If you think your transmission's a little bit weak, you could carry that for the few kilometres where you might need to do that and not stress the car. So I think with an intelligent approach, I think they have a good chance, Colin.
I think you're right. You're right. Remember, Thierry Neuville went very well here last year, as did Ott Tänak. Tänak and Neuville have different approaches. Neuville has been very gung-ho for the past 18 months because he's had to be. That is not, sadly, a Safari winning approach, and he may well have learned that from last year. Tänak, for me, out of the two Hyundai drivers who we could consider as potential winners, is the man that I think has got the nous, the intelligence, most importantly, George, the patience.
The patience, and he thoroughly enjoyed this event last year. He really loved it, and he was robbed, Colin, of all the drivers
he was.
That had issues. You know, Sébastien Ogier, he broke his suspension on the first stage. Was it the car or was it him? Well, we saw him go off the road. I think he did the damage there. Ott didn't make any of those mistakes, and without his windscreen windscreen fogging issue, the guy was looking on for a win, and he drove a fantastic rally, under-rewarded, let's say.
Under-rewarded, that's absolutely true. The third of the Hyundai drivers, Oliver Solberg, an absolute mayor of a Safari rally last year. He needs to have just, you know, he needs to get through, and potentially that sort of approach could serve young Solberg well. If you go into this rally thinking, I'm going to look after my car, I'm going to give away a few seconds here and there, but I don't care, I'm going to save the tyres, I'm going to save the suspension, I'm going to save the engine. That could be the one for Solberg. He needs a good event. Let's talk, George, then, about Toyota. The returning Ogier, the boy wonder Rovanperä, the man who needs the result, Elfyn Evans. Evans made a silly European-style mistake here last year. He's having a terrible season so far. No pressure on him, but what does he do? Is he the man that Toyota now turn to and say, tell you what, Elfyn, your job this weekend is to absolutely guarantee us the points?
I think it has to be that approach, Colin. I mean, it's Safari Rally. They all have to have that little bit of approach. And they can afford to here. As a team, they can afford to take that wholesome approach. And Ogier will probably push for the win.
Well, he's got to.
Yeah.
George,
he's got nothing to lose.
He's only coming on events to win this year. He's not coming to...
As a team strategy, that's the way you would play it, 100%. Nothing to discuss. The reality may be something different, of course.
It may be something different, but again, we've talked about, haven't we? The intelligent drives here are going to be the ones that are rewarded on Safari. Neatness, tidiness, precision. Nothing. You've got to go against your instincts. It's anti-intuitive. Where you see cuts, you've got to resist that temptation to take them, George, because what's in those cuts?
Massive rocks just with your name printed on it.
Yeah, absolutely. As the Elfyn Evans rock is, we might just see a little clip of that. Do you know what? It is a tricky one. It is a tricky one for drivers to find that reset, to dial it back just that fraction. Rallying has become a series of flat-out sprints. The Safari, although it's a long way removed from what it was, is not a series of flat-out sprints.
Definitely is not a flat-out sprint. It has the distance of a flat-out sprint, but it has the character of a 3,000-kilometre classic.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. So, Toyota, I think we're in agreement. Any three of their drivers could win there. Rovanperä will be first on the road, George. Let's discuss that while we're talking about Toyota. It's not going to hinder him too much. No. And it may be an advantage if dust becomes an issue.
I think, that's definitely an issue that could count for a lot, especially on the first and second stages here on Friday. So that could be an issue. But the road cleaning here will be negligible. And even where it is negligible, it is insignificant because it's going to be very short distances. Yeah. So it's not going to affect it at all.
But dust?
Dust will be, and the road degrades very quickly. Yes. Where it's soft, where there is fesh, it degrades incredibly rapidly. So he will be an advantage, definite advantage for that.
So is your money on Rovanperä? Well, my money's not on Rovanperä, sadly, and it's not on Ogier. My money is on M Sport in this event. I have a feeling about this M Sport car. We know how solid it is. We know how much confidence it gives the drivers. What does confidence give you? If you know the car is going to react the way you want it to react, you don't have to think about that. You can think about those other elements that are perhaps slightly anti-intuitive, that perhaps you don't think about on normal events. That M Sport car for me allows the drivers that little bit of a comfort zone to do that, George. And for me, you know, okay, he wasn't here last year. He doesn't have the notes, but notes don't count for a lot here, I'd have to say, because things change so rapidly. But for me, 9 years as a World Rally Champion, the man who makes the best notes, the man who knows how to get the best out of that car, Loeb for me has to be favourite.
Well, certainly confidence-wise, Colin, I can agree with many things you said about that. Apart from the fact, I don't really think any team can come with any great degree of confidence because they're all new cars and nobody knows quite how they're going to react here. So, yeah, maybe confidence in their feel for the car, and I think that Ford will give those drivers that. But you must temper that. You must temper that with that cautious approach and make sure you carry the car over everything you can. It'll be the man that goes the fastest, that takes the least out of his car, that's left with the most car, that can give the most when he needs to take it and where the opportunity is there. And there is some of that on this last day. The first stage on the last day of the rally, there's a great opportunity to fly in there and possibly take 15 or 20 seconds if it's a really tight battle for the finish. This next stage is a survivor, and we know that the Hell's Gate super special, the power stage can have many risks in it because there's a lot of fesh in there again.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really, really interesting. You know, Ford for me are lined up well. I think Craig Breen, again, hasn't been here before, but I think could put in a really strong performance. And I'm not writing off Vermeer, and I'm not writing off Greensmith in terms of their chances of pushing certainly for top 5 finishes. But we've got everything here, folks. You know, there are some incredibly rough sections. The Loldia stage. Oh, there's 8 or 9 kilometres of just mad roughness. We came through Sleeping Warrior today. Is that right? The Sleeping Warrior stage?
Yes.
2.5, 3Ks of just boulders and rocks. There are some beautiful sections that are fast and flat out.
Tremendous.
An awful lot, folks, is going to depend on the weather as well. It is so unpredictable. You know, again, we have, I think, a rally, George, where we have 3 Toyota drivers. We have 2 Hyundai drivers. And I think 2 M Sport drivers. That is 7 drivers. All starting the rally thinking, I could win this.
Yes, and there's a tier behind them that actually also could win. You know, Greensmith, Vermeer, Solberg, all could win this rally as well.
You look after your car.
We also forgot to mention Takasan.
Takasan. How can we forget Takasan?
How can you forget Takasan? The man is leading this rally into the last day last year.
Took his one and only podium in the WRC here last year, but is building his confidence again. Yeah, you talk about that tier behind. You could say 4 Toyota drivers could win this one. It's going to be a fabulous event, folks. There is so much to look forward to here at the Safari Rally. George Donaldson is our man on the ground. He will be there as he was last year, sniffing out the stories. He's got his tentacles of perception working extremely well. The tentacles are perceiving the jeopardy that's out there.
I will find the issues, Colin.
You will indeed.
I will make sure that we get them broadcast out to our fan base.
Absolutely. This is a double header for us at Dirtfish this weekend, folks. Don't forget, we will be at the Goodwood Festival of Speed as well. The #1 event this weekend, though, is quite clearly the Safari Rally. The place to be for all the news, the drama, the jeopardy as it appears. George Donaldson, where is it?
Dirtfish.com.
Oh.